Welcome to Xi Jinping briefing. The content of the briefing includes letters. Tory MPs have done nothing to merit loyalty from their core voters. Taiwan can still avoid Ukraine's fate. Taiwan has chosen freedom. Now Britain must back her. Maldives gives India deadline to withdraw troops. Taiwan loses another diplomatic ally as Nauru recognizes China. Letters. Tory MPs have done nothing to merit loyalty from their core voters. Telegraph. A new poll suggests that the UK Conservative Party could face a wipeout at the next general election. The poll indicates that the Tories would lose 81 seats, resulting in a Labour Party majority of 120 seats. The poll results reflect the dissatisfaction of voters with the current Conservative government and its handling of a range of issues, including illegal migration and net zero policies. The poll also highlights the disconnect between Conservative MPs and the concerns of voters. In response to the poll, some former Conservative Party activists have expressed their disillusionment with the party. One former parliamentary candidate and local councillor stated that he can no longer ask people to vote Conservative due to the party's support for more government, more taxes, and more immigration. Another former party activist called for a clean-out of the Conservative Parliamentary Party. The poll results and the comments from former party activists reflect a growing dissatisfaction with the Conservative government and its policies. The Conservative Party has faced criticism for its handling of a range of issues, including Brexit, the pandemic, and the economy. As a result, voters are increasingly looking to alternative parties, such as Labour, for solutions to the country's challenges. Taiwan can still avoid Ukraine's fate. Financial Times. The threat of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan is back on the global agenda following the Taiwanese presidential election. The Chinese Communist Party warned Taiwan's voters to make the right choice between peace and war, but Taiwan elected the candidate that China sees as a dangerous separatist. There are similarities between Taiwan's position and Ukraine's before 2022, including that both Russia and China regard them as territories that rightfully belong to their nation and that both argue that Ukraine and Taiwan lack any real autonomy and are being used as tools of a hegemonic and aggressive America. Taiwan has chosen freedom. Now Britain must back her. Telegraph. The UK must play a role in resolving the looming crisis between Taiwan and China, according to a report by the Henry Jackson Society. The report suggests that the UK should increase its defense spending to 2.5% of GDP and support Taiwan in investing more in its own arsenal. The UK should also publicly assert its friendship for Taiwan, support its entry to the CPTPP trade pact, and prepare for disruption to the supply of semiconductors. A war between Taiwan and China could cost the global economy $10 trillion and result in 500,000 casualties. Maldives gives India deadline to withdraw troops. Financial Times. The Maldives has demanded that India withdraw its troops from the archipelago nation by mid-March. The move comes as the new president, Mohammad Muizzu, aligns closer to China. Muizzu campaigned on an India Out platform and has recently visited China on his first foreign trip since taking office. India currently has about 75 troops in the Maldives and operates 2 helicopters on the islands. The demand for withdrawal has sparked tensions between India and China, as both nations seek to exert influence in the region. Taiwan loses another diplomatic ally as Nauru recognizes China. Washington Post. The Pacific nation of Nauru has broken ties with Taiwan and recognized China in the latest blow to the Taiwanese government. Analysts were shocked by Nauru's decision to cut diplomatic ties with Taiwan and align with China, leaving Taiwan with fewer than a dozen diplomatic allies. China's President Xi Jinping has stated that Beijing's eventual rule over Taiwan is inevitable. Nauru had previously dropped Taiwan as an ally between 2002 and 2005. What a new leader means for Taiwan and the world. The Toronto Star. Taiwan's new president, Lai Ching-te, plans to continue the policies of his predecessor Tsai Ing-wen, particularly in terms of strengthening ties with the US and other sympathetic countries, as well as building up the military. Lai has also promised to address domestic issues such as affordable housing and economic inequality. However, the new administration will have to manage relations with China, which has demonstrated hostility towards Lai. Analysts expect that China will show its disapproval of Lai's election, possibly through military exercises or restrictions on imports. China wants Taiwan to become part of its territory, but this looks increasingly unlikely as Taiwanese people reject the idea. Lai is expected to build on the existing friendship between Taiwan and the US, which provides the island with military hardware and cooperation. Although the US does not have official diplomatic ties with Taiwan, Washington must treat all threats to the island as matters of grave concern under US law. Li is also likely to seek partners and unofficial diplomatic ties around the world, despite China's attempts to isolate Taiwan. Former chairman of state-owned bank China Everbright Group arrested over suspected corruption. Associated Press. The former chairman of China Everbright Group, Tang Shuangning, has been arrested on suspicion of embezzlement and bribery. Tang was expelled from the Chinese Communist Party earlier this month and retired in 2017. The arrest is part of an intensified campaign against corruption in China's financial sector. Chinese President Xi Jinping has pledged to crack down on corruption in various sectors since coming to power in 2012. As of April 2022, 4.7 million people had been punished for corruption in China. Tang's successor, Li Xiaopeng, has also been suspected of graft and expelled from the party. Other finance executives, including Sun Guofeng and Zhang Hongli, have also been investigated for graft. Taiwanese tech billionaire warns island must prepare for war with China. The Sydney Morning Herald. Taiwanese chip billionaire Robert Cao has warned that Taiwan must prepare its defenses for an attack by China. Cao, who founded semiconductor giant United Microelectronics Corporation, has invested $150 million in Taiwanese civilian warriors to prepare for war. Cao is a critic of Beijing and has clashed with supporters of the opposition Kuomintang, which favors closer economic ties with China. The Chinese Communist Party claims Taiwan as its own, but Taiwan's leaders and the international community have maintained the status quo to allow it to have self-determination without declaring formal international independence. The U.S. delegation arrives in Taiwan to meet Tsai, other officials. Bloomberg. A group of former U.S. officials, including former National Security Advisor Stephen Hadley and ex-Deputy Secretary of State James Steinberg, arrived in Taiwan to meet with outgoing President Tsai Ing-wen. The talks will test the recent improvement of ties between Washington and Beijing following Taiwan's recent election. The delegation is likely to also meet Vice President Lai Ching-te, who is considered a separatist by Beijing. China and the U.S. are already bickering over the election results, with China lodging a diplomatic complaint with the U.S. over comments made by Secretary of State Antony Blinken. President Joe Biden has reiterated the U.S. stance that it does not support independence for Taiwan. Well, my dear viewers, it seems the political landscape is heating up in various parts of the world. Let's dive into this week's news. First up, we have some alarming news for the UK Conservative Party. A new poll suggests that they could lose a whopping 81 seats in the next general election, resulting in a Labour Party majority. Seems like the voters are not too pleased with the current government's handling of issues like illegal migration and net zero policies. It's safe to say that some former Conservative Party activists are not holding back either, expressing their disillusionment with the party's support for more government, more taxes, and more immigration. Ouch! Looks like the Tories need to do some serious soul-searching if they want to win back their core voters. Moving on to Taiwan, things are getting tense over there. The threat of a Chinese invasion is back on the table after the presidential election, with China warning Taiwan about making the right choice between peace and war. But guess what? Taiwan elected the candidate that China sees as a dangerous separatist. Talk about choosing freedom. Now, the UK is being urged to play a role in resolving this crisis. A report suggests that the UK should increase its defense spending and support Taiwan in investing more in its own arsenal. Seems like it's time for Britain to back its friend in need. Speaking of friendships, it seems India's relationship with the Maldives is hitting a rough patch. The new president of the Maldives has demanded that India withdraw its troops from the archipelago nation. And why is that? Well, it looks like the new president is getting cozy with China, campaigning on an India Out platform and recently visiting China on his first foreign trip. This demand has sparked tensions between India and China, as both countries vie for influence in the region. Looks like a diplomatic storm is brewing. But wait, there's more bad news for Taiwan. The Pacific nation of Nauru has broken ties with Taiwan and recognized China as the latest blow to the Taiwanese government. Analysts were shocked by Nauru's decision, leaving Taiwan with fewer than a dozen diplomatic allies. China's President Xi Jinping has even said that Beijing's eventual rule over Taiwan is inevitable. Taiwan's losing friends left and right, but it seems they're not giving up without a fight. Now, let's talk about some corruption in China. The former chairman of China Everbright Group, Tang Shuangning, has been arrested on suspicion of embezzlement and bribery. This comes as part of President Xi Jinping's intensified campaign against corruption in the country's financial sector. Tang's arrest follows the expulsion of other high-ranking officials, including his successor Li Xiaopeng. Looks like President Xi is serious about cleaning up the financial mess. And last but not least, we have some U.S. involvement in Taiwan. A group of former U.S. officials, including Stephen Hadley and James Steinberg, arrived in Taiwan to meet with outgoing President Tsai Ing-wen. This visit comes at a delicate time, given the recent election and the tensions between China and the U.S. China has already lodged a diplomatic complaint with the U.S. over comments made by Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Looks like the U.S. is treading carefully, trying to improve ties with China while maintaining its relationship with Taiwan. Phew, that was quite a whirlwind of news, wasn't it? It's clear that the world is watching closely as events unfold in the UK, Taiwan, India, China, and beyond. The political landscape is shifting, and it's up to us to stay informed and engaged. So, my dear viewers, what are your thoughts on these developments? Do you have any burning questions for me? Let's discuss. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.